So I wanted to go over our workbook and worksheets that we're going to use for this portion of the course, and I wanted to just touch on a few things in case you're new to Excel, and some of you are experts and some of you are brand new. I wanted to just touch on a few things about Excel. Excel workbooks include all the pages. So these are worksheets that are across the bottom in tabs, and one page is a worksheet and the entire file is a workbook. I tend to use the same terms, worksheet, for everything, so excuse me if I do that, but I just wanted to clarify that. Also, I wanted you to know that in this worksheet, the profit and loss is what I have the tab called. It is, for the most part, protected, and what that does is it keeps the formatting and it keeps the formulas so that it can't be messed up, because it's very easy in Excel to change things if it's not protected. So it's for our good that it's protected, and I have a few things that are not protected so that you are able to add some things that you may want. If you notice in this section here, this green and red, this is the merchandise sales. The red ones are credits or contra accounts for this merchandise sales, and I've mentioned contra accounts in the past, and I don't normally recommend them or use them, but because I needed them in this worksheet to be contra, and I'll explain that a little more as we go, I included them in red here just so it will bring to your attention that they need to be in red over here. Okay, so to achieve that, you just put a minus sign in front of the number, and that will make them red, okay, or a credit. I've chose green for money up here, so that's kind of color coded, and everything up here is going to be total merchandise. Okay, any of these areas underneath that don't have anything, these are not protected, so in case you need to add other items in, you can do that if you're tracking other income. Then the ones out here, all the ones under the months, they're not protected, but they are formatted as dollars. And then these in the year to date, these are all protected so that they pull the figures from over in the monthly totals and put them in the year to date. The calculations move over there, and you don't have the risk of corrupting the file. Then we have the cost of goods sold, and the same thing applies here. It's just in a different section. And if you look at the sales minus the cost of goods sold, then you get your gross profit. Okay, so that's what this next line is. And then the selling fees, we have a bunch of them listed out. There may be other ones, and I've given you some more area that you can add those. And when you add all this up, this would be your total selling fees. And you notice I have two columns, and we kind of talked about the two columns that I'm showing here as a demonstration in another video, and we'll go back and look at some more information on that in a minute. So your net income or your net loss would be your gross minus your selling fees, okay? And then anything that you're adding up across the months will add across into the year-to-date totals. Then we have this section that's black, and it is for sales tax refunds, sales tax that was collected, some that's marketplace facilitators tax. And if you notice these little red marks, and you see them, you can't see them in this section because it is red, but when you hover over them, you can see little notes popping out. These are comments that tell you a little bit about what goes in each of those sections. I have the total sales tax collected less the marketplace facilitators tax, and so that gives you the amount that is payable. So whenever you prepare your sales tax returns, that will have your figure there. These are kind of weird things that happen on Amazon. Sometimes Amazon owes you money at the end of the payment statement, but maybe your checking account's not set up right, or maybe it's less than their minimum and so they don't send it to you. So those figures are already accounted in some of the statements, and so we wouldn't want to include them in your income again or your expenses, so we kind of had to stick them in another place. So that's that. The grand total would be the amount of whatever statement you're using, so it's going to differ depending on that. The 1099K, this is kind of the fun thing about this worksheet, is I have done the formulas in order to come up with the 1099K, so that if you add all this across and it comes to 20,000 and 200 transactions, you'll get a 1099K. So this is going to help you to reconcile that a little easier. And then the bank deposit is the grand total less the marketplace facilitators tax. And so you can see that this is the same time period, but there's a little bit difference, and we kind of talked about that in the Amazon payment statement versus Shopkeeper. And so these are the same time period, but a couple of orders different, and we talked about that in the dates. If you don't follow me and not sure what I'm talking about, go back and watch the previous unit that talks about that. Okay, now some of the rest of the information across the bottom is the pivot table, and that comes from the Amazon transaction report, and you should be familiar with it by now from doing your payment statements. The pivot is from that report, so when you see the report, okay, I have taken a few columns of information out just to protect my products and stuff, but the pivot is from there, and I wanted to give you a pivot because I wanted to have these boxes over here checked and the rows and values marked so that you can use this as kind of a blueprint. Then the Shopkeeper sales report is a screenshot of the time period. The monthly summary report, this is the transaction date range summary report. And the journal entry, this is what we're going to post into our accounting. It shows the debits and credits and the account numbers and everything, or account names that we will post. And then the notes gives some background information, like all deposits to the wash account whenever they download from the bank. So we're going to put all of our money from those deposits into that account, and then all the money from this journal entry, you can see it goes into the wash account here. So we have debits and credits for that. We talk about all of our selling fees are going to selling fees. Our profit and loss figures are going to come from either the payment statements or the date range statements or the Shopkeeper sales report, and a little bit of both. Amazon date range summary report is this one that we just looked at. That's what it looks like. And the marketplace facilitators tax, that can be found on the Shopkeeper report or the Amazon. So if we go here, you can see the marketplace facilitators tax, and if we go to the Shopkeeper one, we can see it here. Okay, the $38.52 plus 40, so that's $38.92. So if we come over here, you can see it $38.92. So I'm just giving you where we can find all of these items, and we're going to plug them in, but I wanted you to have this for reference in the future. The cost of goods sold is going to come from the Shopkeeper sales report, because we're not doing the invoices that we did in the previous modules, because we're not tracking our inventory there anymore. We're going to use the Shopkeeper app to keep up with our inventory, so we're not going to have those sales reports, or excuse me, we're not going to have those invoices, and without the invoices it doesn't post to cost of goods sales or relieve your inventory. So we're going to have to do that here, where we're going to debit our inventory, or excuse me, debit our cost of sales and credit our inventory asset. And the cost of goods can be pulled from the Shopkeeper report. We'll come right here and cost of goods sold, and the total amount's right there. So that's all pretty handy, and this is going to help us find the things, okay, that we need. And then the Shopkeeper inventory, I'm just throwing this worksheet up here just for good measure if you want something else to keep your inventory on. And that pretty much covers this workbook, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how to take all of this information and put it onto this one page, and then take this information and get it into the journal so that we can post it to QuickBooks. And I know that sounds like a lot of stuff to do, but it goes pretty quickly once you know what you're looking for and what you're trying to accomplish.